will happen if you're not having a vision. Let's say you do not have a clear vision of what you want to do. If you are, if your vision is like, okay, after 4 years I'll see if I'll sit in placements or else I'll go abroad.
That will not do.
That is the whole thing. Then you will always keep on. The whole time will pass and you will be like, okay, I'll do this, I'll do that. Exams will come, interns will come, project submissions will come, and that's how your 4 years will be ended up. And you'll be thinking like, okay, 4 years are done. My college did not teach me anything, and you'll blame the whole thing on your college.
Hello everyone, welcome to Spotlight, EDAM's podcast for the students, by the students, about the students. So today I'll be your host for today. My name is Srikanth, and we have Adnan Ali Khan, who works as a full stack developer, is a systems engineer. He's an ex-team member at Code for India? Adventure Park, sorry, and you're in Code for India team. Right, so would you like to give us a small intro of what you're currently doing right now?
Oh, sure. Hello everyone who's watching this podcast. My name is Adnan, and right now I'm in my final year of engineering from Lord's Institute. And right now I'm a program lead at Code for India Foundation, where I help students learn how to code. So basically we have a 4+2 months program where we train students on how to code with full stack web development. That's my track. We have full stack web development plus data analysis, out of which I'm the program lead for the full stack web development track, where I help students learn how to code and land into tech careers.
Right.
Apart from that, I'm also an ex-team member at Adventure Park, where I help other student startups to come and build their products. And I'm also a GDSC lead at my campus.
Oh, GDSC lead. GDSC lead just for your campus or?
No, for my campus.
For your campus. So Lord's Institute of Engineering Technology. Would you like to go into just an overview of what your college was like when you got into first year? When you went there in first year, obviously.
Okay, so I'll be pretty honest how my whole college journey went like. So I got answer.
Yeah.
And I was into this OC thing. I was in general category, and most of my focus during that time was with JW means, and I did not properly focus on answer. And I got a rank of 42,000 back then, for which I was not getting a CSE seat in any of the good colleges. If I would have a BC certificate, I would have got into some other good colleges. Maybe I still remember that.
Don't worry, we're on the same page.
My friends were offered a seat because I had a class, but I did not. So that's when I put all the colleges, and somehow I landed up into Lords. So back then when I was in Lords, there was not a lot of things that were happening. It was a very new college, and that was the first year we shifted to Osmania affiliation. Back then there was a group of students. There was Fawaz, there was Siraj, and these guys were trying to start the whole ESL thing with it.
Electronically something.
Entrepreneurship.
Entrepreneurship,
So
right.
back then they did not have entrepreneurship, and these guys wanted to start it, and it was very in the nascent stages. And these guys were the one who did it. And once they beat the ESL, I was also a part of it. Once these guys started the whole thing, I was into the marketing part.
So Spotlight, this podcast is it's from EDAM. You've heard of EDAM, obviously.
Yes.
Would you tell us more about how you first heard of EDAM?
So one day Abhishek was pinging me, and he was saying that we are looking for a speaker, and we were doing something thing called the DAMSpotlight, and he was saying if you are interested to speak and share your own experience. Then I was like, why not?
Yes, you've heard him, guys. MSET rank, JEE, none of that. No, he wasn't taking any of that. He's made his own way and powered through. So coding, obviously, you're into coding, technology, and marketing. Also, I have a few words that I think you said. Marketing is your crush. Financing is your girlfriend. Coding is your wife. Would you like to elaborate on that a little?
Okay. So that description I wrote, I wrote it long back, and
well, they're still very interesting. Do you wanna know?
It's very interesting. Yeah. So the story is marketing is something which I always wanted to do, and I thought that marketing is something that I can. But most of the times I saw that I tried a lot of it. I tried doing a lot of things for my own college. In fact, I had this one company which I made for myself, which was called as Pineapple Media. Not a lot of people know about it. So during lockdown, I tried to help brands in their marketing strategies and how can they elaborate. For which I went to a few offline stores, and I said like, so very silly again, but I went to a few shops and said that your signboards are not good. So back then I knew Photoshop. So I was like, your signboards are not good. I'll design your signboard. I'll print it for you. You give me some money. And they're like, COVID chal raha. वापस बाद में आओ. That was the
I
previous one.
I get it. Yeah, no one had any money back then. No business was running. So
Yeah, and that's how marketing became my passion. Finance is something that was I was very interested since my very young days. When my father used to, so my father was into stocks, and I
Okay.
used to see him working in stocks and seeing everything. I was always interested. What is this whole thing about? And that's when he introduced to me to the markets and how things work. And that's when I saw a lot of videos and learned how stock market works and tried to invest something. So that is one thing.
Right.
And coding is my bread and butter. So that's why.
Uh,
Yeah. But
So-
back then I did not know how to code.
so marketing is something you look back every now and then, and you go, "I wish I could do that."
I still wish.
Yeah, so you still wish you could do that. And financing is something you try to do.
Yes.
Coding is something you have to do. That describes it. So what? Your first and second year must have been during COVID lockdown.
Yeah, my second semester was so in our second semester lockdown started.
So your second sem was lockdown. How was that like? Did you do anything different from the other students? What were you doing with all that free time?
Okay, so back then when I was in my very first year of engineering, I did not do a lot of things. I was just in my college and I
Okay.
used to do a lot of activities within my college itself. And I remember I used to stay back in my college until 12, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. with one of my faculties, and we used to do a lot of stuff back then.
Okay.
And in fact, life was going very good until lockdown. Just before lockdown, the whole COVID news spread. We went for a competition. I and Fawaz, we both went for a competition in Mysore in the month of February. And once we came back, lockdown hit. So back then there were not a lot of things that we were doing, and that's when the Adventure Park thing came into picture. So
Adventure.
just before lockdown, what happened? Adventure Park was looking for opened the pre-incubation program. So these guys said that we will be, if you guys have an idea, and if you are looking for any sort of support, we will be helping you on that. So what happened? We went for the info session. We sat over there. I still remember it was March 9th, 2020. That was the date. So we went for the info session and we sat there. We were looking for ideas. And back then, so you know, right? First year
Yeah.
college student, he was doing a lot of things in that. I was like, okay, I know everything. I had that sort of attitude, and I thought, why should I apply for the pre-incubation program? I'll skip this off. I'll not do it. But then what happened? Okay, funny coincidence. But my co-founder, Fatima, we had a podcast back then.
Right.
So we were doing a fun kind of thing, same way. Colleges, guys, that's when I was really interested into this thing. So we are trying to do this thing where we are bringing college students and these guys are sharing their experience. And we had this thing named College Gossip, which never went live. That's a different story. But back then, she went there asking Miraj for an interview so that he can be on our podcast, which ended up in she pitching her idea to Miraj. So what happened? And she went there and straight up said that I have a cure for COVID.
You ever?
She has a cure for COVID.
COVID.
And he was
How did that turn out?
I don't know how it will happen. And she was like, I have a cure for COVID and we can solve it. And Miraj was like, shit. And still, even if we go back and we ask why were you selected, it was all about the attitude which she had shown back.
Okay.
And after she thought that okay, I just said it and I will not be selected. But later on, she got selected and she applied it as a team and she also wanted team members. That's when I, Fawaz, Fatima, and Mahi, four of us started the whole Bezra thing.
Bezra, yes.
Yes. And that's during the lockdown when most of the people were already doing something. Adventure Park's pre-incubation program started during lockdown.
Right.
So I had spent most of my time spent working on that stuff. And technically, we were working on something that was going to cure COVID.
Okay.
So that was the whole story.
You mentioned you skipped the incubation program.
I was thinking that I'll be skipping.
But you didn't actually.
But later on, when I went into the pre-incubation program, I realized that I know nothing. Everything.
Reality hits.
Reality check. Like, okay, you think that you know a lot.
Right now, sitting here, do you wish you skipped it? Or do you wish you definitely glad didn't skip it?
I'm very glad that I got that opportunity.
What if you skipped it? What do you think the consequences would have been today? Very vast or like slightly?
If I would have skipped the whole adventure path, so pretty honest, everything that I am today is somewhere related to what happened that day at adventure park.
So everything you are today
because I learned coding from cs.code.in, which is again a venture of Miraj. I am working at Code for India, which is again a venture of Miraj. I had my startup at Adventure Park, which was again a venture of Miraj. So
all this
all connected is what
it all traces back to that one decision that you made so long ago.
And I don't think it's a it's a decision. It was more like an accidental collision. But again, as Miraj says, and as we believe at about this, there are no accidents. Everything happens for a reason.
So you firmly believe that a student should take every opportunity he gets, you think? Or is there like, should we watch out? Should we watch out what opportunities we should consider them? Or do you just say this for the experience, do it?
So what happens most of the time is we as students, especially we as engineers, what happens or what goes through our mind is whenever we get an opportunity, we tend to gauge it. We tend to see it into reasons like
Yeah,
we try to analyze it. We
we
get
try to
analytical
analyze
about
it. That's right.
We see like, okay, if I do this, and that was what's happening with me during the incubation program. I was like, okay, I already know this. What will these guys do it? We are always analytical. We are always thinking. We are always thinking of the consequences. And most of the times, what happens, we do not land up into the right decisions, and we do not believe in our gut. Most of the times, we are backed by data, and that's when we. This is not what makes a very good entrepreneur. Most of the time. So what happens is what I feel if you are looking for doing great things, if you are looking forward to do some things that will actually change a lot of things for you, that is when you should be always open to opportunities. Give it a try, see if it's made for you. If it's working out, if you are loving it, if you are still trying to do the whole thing and you are enjoying the thing so far, then I think that thing is made for you.
So keep
But
an
just
open mind.
passing it on is not something that you should be doing, because it's more like all the attempts which were not taken are 100% failure.
Yeah.
If you give a shot, you might be having a 0.0001% chance. But if you do not take a chance, you're already on the losing side.
I think the quote that goes with it is the shots not fired are 100% missed.
Yes, that one.
If you don't fire, you don't know if you hit or miss. So your overall take on that opportunities thing, because this question I asked you to even help first years decide with their, because they get opportunities, but they can't decide because I'm in first year. I'll have a lot of college work. I don't know if I can keep up with attendance and all, because some colleges don't give attendance very leisurely.
So this is where our colleges and faculties also play a very important role. In
Right.
fact, it's all about the mindset, is what I feel. So back then, when I was in my first year, I remember this one conversation I had with Atik and Sayyed, two of my friends. So we three back then we were so Atik and Sayyed landed up into mechanical. They were like, I want a college, and they went into engineering. And I was like, I will go with CSE and I'll go to Lords.
Right.
And we three decided that no matter what, by a second year or third year, we should get into a good internship. That was the only thing which we wanted. And these guys, again, I mentioned, as I mentioned, Atik and Syed, these guys always worked on their coding skills back. And in fact, Atik is working with me at in the team at Code for India Foundation, and he's also a lead instructor at Hacking School. And then Syed is again one of our lead developers who is working on the projects which we do daily. So it's all about how are you planning it, how are you trying to see. For example, if you are not very clear about your goal, what will happen? If you're not having a vision, let's say you do not have a clear vision what you want.
You'll be distracted.
Yeah. If your vision is like, okay, after 4 years I'll see if I'll sit in placements or else I'll go abroad.
That will not work.
That is the whole thing. Then you will always keep on. The whole time will pass, and you will be like, okay, I'll do this, I'll do that. Exams will come, internals will come, project submissions will come, and that's how your 4 years will be ended up. And you'll be thinking like, okay, 4 years are done. My college did not teach me anything, and you'll blame the whole thing on your college.
Yeah, EDAM was actually founded for this very purpose, to help with the mindset of students and help them, because they're confused, they're lost souls without guidance. Colleges don't have any guidance towards, the modern career, how the modern career goes. So at EDAM we have this program called 100 Days of Technology. I'm not sure if you've heard it, but it's where we have different technologies on the concept of one new technology every day. Something like that. The students can view the material. We have mentors. We have people to coach them. Not just the actual technical part, but they can ask anything from our mentors. From people who have achieved something that they're lost. They want to start a technology, but they don't know how. So we have this goal that even if they don't learn, they don't follow through, at least they get hooked to the technology. That will keep them going. I believe you must have felt the getting hooked to part when you started coding. You're also a full stack dev, right? When did that start? Did you always know how to build HTML?
Mentioning about the hook, I just tell you that. So I had this conversation in my second year, in my third semester with my HOD. So this guy was saying me, so I was a CSE engineer back then, right? And I was a hardcore no-code guy.
Okay.
Hardcore no-code. I was like, no-code is the future, coding will be dead.
Right.
That is the narrative which I used to follow. And I was like, and my HOD came and he was like, why do you think you should not be learning how to code? And I was like, why do you think I should be coding? Everything that I want, you want an e-commerce store, go to WooCommerce, I'll build it for you. If you want this, I will go to WordPress, I'll do it for you.
Okay.
If you want the mobile thing, I'll go to Adalo, I'll do it for you. Software, Bubble, and Webflow. All of these things were growing, and I was like, you do not have to understand how code works. You are all good if you know no code. If you know how products work, it's all good. You can take it, build it, and develop.
What if you wanted to build a service that didn't exist? Like what?
That's when it happened. So I had a task with Bizra, right? Again. So back then I was working on something called as a directory for all the coupling service centers. So
Directory for the?
Bizra is a startup where you provide cupping therapy at your home.
Cupping therapy, okay.
It's something like you have seen, might have seen in Olympics. Michael Phelps has some red marks on his back.
Oh,
right?
they heat a glass cup and they stick it on your back,
Yes, that.
and then they remove it. That's cupping therapy.
Yes,
Okay.
that is cupping therapy. So that is not really practiced in India, and it's very much beneficial. And there are a lot of health benefits, and we wanted to make this thing easier. And that's when we thought of there are a lot of cupping therapy centers, but these guys are not at home. So what if we create a directory where people are going and looking for the centers, and they realize that there is a platform called as Bizra or Cupping.app, and they can come over here, book a session for them. So I had to create this directory. I had the whole data on just that, but there were around 115 centers, and it was very hard for me to pick everyone's data and put it into a spreadsheet and give it, and I was feeling very lazy about it.
Yeah.
So what I did is I did a simple Google search. How can I script data?
A script, Python script.
And that's how I landed up on data. And the moment I ran it, it worked. I was like, okay, damn, this is something great. I need to learn how this thing happens. And that's when I also heard about cs.code.in. So cs.code.in is again a 1 year full-fledged program where you have all the things that you should be actually doing into engineering.
For free? For free?
No, cs.code.in costs about, it's equivalent to what you will be doing in your engineering plus masters. So we work on real-time systems, we work on distributed architectures, we work on all the system engineering and all of that. And there are a lot of projects. That's the whole thing which happens. And during that time, what happened? I realized that's when I wrote my first program. Before that, I did not even know how to write a simple hello
and that
world
hooked you
in JavaScript.
And that hooked you in.
That hooked me.
That just took you.
Yes, that just.
And you could never stop.
I could never stop, and whatever.
It became your wife, in your own words.
Yeah.
And what about the web development? Did you learn web development after coding? Obviously, you must have.
I was very new to web development. If you really ask me how, when did I first wrote my first web dev code, a full-fledged code, it was not more than a year back. I still remember it was around Feb 12th or 13th.
Okay, the code part is okay, but let's talk about philosophy. When do you have a vision of how to design websites? Are you really into that?
Yeah. So
beautiful and stunning websites.
Yeah. Before me starting how to code, I was into design. So I knew a little bit of.
So you were into designing.
Yeah, I knew a little bit of Photoshop and all. I had a good idea about how products should be made. So I knew okay, a thing should work like this. And later on, using code, I realized how can I convert this specific idea into an actual working product. That's how I help all the people who are also working with me. For example, all the projects that we give in our bootcamp, those are all based on those things. These guys come up with the ideas. We see that if it can be improvised somewhere. First, we ask them to, and if needed, we'll tweak it here and there, and then we'll be doing it. But if you honestly ask me, I have a good amount of experience, is what I would say. But again, I have been not coding for a very long time.
Well, I didn't really ask you about the coding part. I just wanted to know what you think of websites, web design, and all. You said you had Photoshop experience. Other than Photoshop, do you design like Canva?
I tried Figma.
Figma
did not really go well with me. I use Canva these days.
I'm just trying to see if I can add like another into your marketing, finance, and code other than these three.
I'm a really bad designer.
Well, that's okay. Yeah, you make up for it in other places.
I tried making college posters, and that's when my whole design theory went.
So full stack dev, you make your own websites or do you outsource them to developers? All your ventures.
So it depends actually how the project is like. So let's say it's a very simple thing, and it can be made by some of the students, and these guys are always looking for projects and experiences. Then I most probably give it out to them, and these guys can put the work.
So you give opportunity to your juniors.
But let's say if there is something that has to be done within like 3 days, 4 days, and
then you need the big guns.
Then it might be a Atiq Sayyid, or sometimes it's
then
even me.
Yeah, you need the big guns now. Yeah. So you do give opportunity to your juniors, which is nice. Only your college, or do you give opportunity to anyone who like showcases talent?
I am always open for work. For example, if you are a developer, if someone who is listening to this podcast and if they want to work onto an opportunity, and it can be a paid opportunity. If you are already into web development and looking for work, if you do not find real-time projects, I am always there. If you can just show me your product portfolio, I can give you.
You heard him, guys. You heard him. Well, yeah, we do have talented developers at in EDAM and outside of EDAM as well. People message us, they show us our work, we like it. But sometimes there is work, sometimes there's not enough work for them to build on their portfolio. But anyways, speaking of web development, I realized that most of the people, regular people outside of the tech geekiness, those who don't have interest in tech, they use websites, but they don't know like Web 1, Web 2, Web 3. Would you tell us what Web 1 is? So let's start with Web 1.
Very simple. People like
overcomplicated.
Yeah. Complicated a lot.
Yeah.
But it's really simple. Web 1 is nothing but a simple Google page. where it was the very first version of internet, where you did not interact much with the web. So what used to happen back then? Most of the information that was available was only in a read-only format. So
Right.
what you used to do, you used to give an input and you used to get an output. That's it. So you used to find some information and you used to get that information. Examples are Wikipedia, Google, and all of these. These are all kind of Web 1.
They're Web 1 pages.
Yes.
So
In Web 2, this is where your 2008, this all started there. It actually started in 2004,
okay.
but it got the boom after 2008 when the whole
everyone was moving
crisis happened.
after the
came into picture.
dot-com bubble. Okay, yeah.
Not dot-com bubble, the 2008 real estate
recession.
crisis,
Okay.
recession, the 2008 recession. So this is when your Facebook came into picture, right?
Okay.
So what happened now? People were not just searching for information, or people were interacting with the web. You posted a photo, people were able to like on it. You posted something, people were able to comment on it. So now you are interacting with the web. Now it's a two-way communication.
Okay, so
earlier back then it was just a one-way communication where we were only able to read. Now you are able to read and write both. So you are more. It's more like interacting with the web.
So that's web. So that's Web 2. And so Web 1, Web 2 is sort of like some from the box phone to the smartphone, from a Nokia dumb phone to a smartphone, you could say.
Something similar.
So for the people, in case they don't get what all this, let me reiterate. Web 1 is just you have text on the screen, you read it.
Yes.
Web 2 is there's text on the screen, you can click it.
Yeah. You can
Right.
click it and you can interact with it, you can play with it.
And now what's all the hype about Web 3? Would you like to tell us what Web 3 is for the beginners out there?
So Web 3 is again very simple again. So what happens with Web 2 is you are having everything is centralized over here. What do you mean by centralized? You might have heard about cloud. Cloud engineering,
Right,
cloud
right.
computing.
Cloud.
So what is cloud computing? You
Like
have
iCloud, my Apple Cloud has photos
not
in there.
that. The Google Cloud.
Servers,
AWS
you mean?
servers. Yeah,
Okay, fine.
servers.
Yeah, servers.
So we have servers.
Yeah.
Majority of your websites are always hosted on top of these servers.
True.
57% of the internet, I'm not sure if it's 57, but it's more than 50%
roughly
of the web is hosted on top of AWS.
On
AWS.
AWS. Okay.
Yeah. So let's say, due to some reason, I know it won't happen, but due to some reason, let's say AWS goes down. What will happen?
That could be a very big potential risk. And in favor of Amazon. No one knows where the data ever went. The security is at question.
Yes.
A lot of things can go out of place really quickly if AWS fails to keep up.
And apart from that, 50%, 57% of the websites are lost. So let's say if your website was hosted on top of AWS and tomorrow AWS disappears, you have lost your website.
Can you give a
and you lost everything.
Example of a? Can you give an example of a important website hosted on AWS? Is Google on AWS? I'm not sure.
I'm not really sure. Previously, Netflix was on AWS. Recently, they shifted to GCP.
Yeah, even previous example is fine.
Netflix was one of the websites which was using AWS. Recently, it shifted to GCP.
Boy, that would be one sad day.
Yes.
Netflix is down.
I think Wikipedia is one of them. I'm not really sure.
Is Wikipedia Web 3 now, or is it still Web?
It's a Web 1 thing, but still, since you can add articles on top of Wikipedia, it can be also considered as a Web.
So this is my input, but I think I'd like to call Wikipedia with like just Web 1 with a pinch of Web 2, because it's still mostly just text.
It's an encyclopedia. You cannot expect more.
Yeah. So Web 3 was saying clouds, and what if AWS goes down? Just all these risks.
Everything goes.
It's a huge, massive mess.
So what happens with Web 3 is, in Web 2, everything is centralized. You have a central authority, you have a centralized server.
Yeah.
In Web 3, everything is decentralized. And you cannot censor content, you cannot control content, you cannot push someone on. For example, let's say what happens in China, you cannot access Google.
Right.
Because the government banned it.
It's banned, yeah.
But you restricting your community from getting that access is something that is not in your hand. With Web 3, what happens? The data is not within you, not held by a central authority.
Okay.
It's owned by you and hundreds of people like you. So let's say there are, so what happens, instead of you storing data at one specific place, you store it in 10 different places.
So it's sort of, it's just like Bitcoin then.
Yeah, if you take an example of Bitcoin, let's say I did a transaction. For example, in this room, I did a transaction, he gave me some money, and there was only one guy who took a note of that transaction. Let's say he, for some reason, he's no more.
Okay.
Who will prove or tell me that this transaction happened? Because
any other person on
there was a single point of failure. But let's say there were 10 people who saw me giving you some money, and let's say out of that 5 people disappeared. You still have 5 different locations to look for who will be validating that, okay, this is right and this happened and we are the witnesses.
So this reduces the chance of like corruption, censorship, and any point of failure is like highly minimized. But these 5 also share the risk of failure, right?
Yeah, they definitely share the risk of failure.
But it's much less rare.
And that's when the blockchain trilemma comes into picture. where
The
you
speed,
speak about
size, scalability. I forgot about it.
scalability, security, and
Speed, right?
speed. Yes.
Speed, yeah. Speed,
Speed
scalability,
and
security.
scalability is
The three S's of blockchain. Yeah.
yes.
Tell me.
So what happens if you go for Bitcoin? What is the transaction time on Bitcoin? It's more
It's
than
very quick.
no, Bitcoin is very it's 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Yes. If you have to send money on in Bitcoin, you will have to wait 10 minutes for you to see those transactions on the ledger or in the blockchain. Why does that happen? Because there are a lot of validators that are present. Now, let's
Okay.
say you have to send this information throughout the globe in all the validators. They should accept that information and give you an acknowledgement. Okay, we received it. Since your network is expanded through a lot of things, it takes a lot of time for you to get that
Yeah.
acknowledgement. Same thing. Let's say now I reduce the size of network. What happens? Yes, you improve the speed, but what are you compromising on top of?
Scalability and
The
the
security
security.
part.
Sorry. You
Now
have less people verifying the transaction.
earlier there were 10,000 people, now there are only 1,000 people.
Which
That's
is a
the
risk.
whole thing with validation. That's where your small chains come into
Right,
picture
so
and where it becomes hackable. So if you get 51% access of the network, you can control the
That's
whole blockchain.
oh, that's a big risk.
That's it.
Because previously in the bank, if one account is hacked, it's just that balance is lost. But here, if the chain is hacked, it's like potentially the whole server or something.
A chain cannot be hacked technically if you are asking.
Well, control of the systems per se, not chain.
It can only happen when you get 51% of the power that you need. For example, let's say
51% of the systems
resources. Yeah.
Resources wise, not number node wise.
The ones who are in the network.
Yeah, what if there's like there's four computers in this room that operate a blockchain of their own. If I get control of two,
that won't be the case.
But if I have one,
if it's on a private blockchain, yes. But if it's on a public blockchain like Bitcoin, let's say Bitcoin is having 20,000 or 24,000 or 30,000 miners who are validating these transactions daily. If you want to hack Bitcoin, you will have to get control of 15,000 miners who are already present, which is really tough.
Right.
And you cannot get into. Same goes with Ethereum. Same goes with Polygon. Same goes with
any other this thing, cryptocurrency. But what is the third? Scalability. Would you like to elaborate on that?
So here, if you have to go with the scalability, this is where solutions.
No, what does scalability even mean?
Scalability means nothing but you are trying to take more and more transactions. So transactions per second is what we call them. Ethereum, before it went to proof of stake.
So like my internet speed.
It's like your
more of my. How much more can I take using a single cable?
Something similar to that. So what happens is Ethereum, before it moved on to proof of stake, when it was on proof of work, it used to handle 15 transactions per second.
Okay.
Because of which the gas fee was very high back then. If you remember.
The gas
fee, the transaction.
The gas fee, right?
That was very high. It was around $100.
Yeah. And this gas fee, where does this gas fee cut from?
From your own, from the customer.
I am paying, that fee goes, and where does it go?
It goes to the miner.
To the miner.
Whoever is validating the transaction, he will be given a reward.
So in short, that's how a cryptocurrency operates, right? The gas fee is what the fee when I'm transferring Bitcoin that cuts from my wallet, the sender to be specific, and it goes to the person who validated my transaction. He's a miner. They are a miner.
Miner / validator. So yeah, that's the whole thing where layer 2 solutions come into picture, where Polygon and something like that they can take and they can process a lot of transactions. So instead of 15, you can transact 62,500 transactions per second using Polygon.
Now we've laid a good foundation of what Web3 and this decentralization concept is. How does Web3 take advantage of it? I have my own question from this. Say Facebook on Web2 can censor me. They censor Trump, they censor all these politicians. But if Facebook was on Web3, would they still be able to do that? And if not, why not?
If Facebook, so the thing which Facebook did with Cambridge Analytica, right? So that was all Cambridge Analytica, the whole scam, the Trump.
Right, yeah. The voting. Okay.
That happened because your data was all stored on a Facebook server.
Of course.
So again, you have to get the whole understanding of how a private blockchain works, how a public blockchain works.
No, just in brief, like just maybe give us the feel of why Facebook can't.
In this case, what would happen is there will be direct proof that Facebook did it, and people will be directly able to see it, and it is not mandatory for them to go and see a person and dig the whole thing up. So what will happen is, since everything is present on the ledger, they can see that Facebook gave this information and someone on the other might report it. So it will be a very minimal risk is what I would say.
So minimal risk, but if Facebook is the entity that's on the blockchain,
Again, I don't think Facebook should be going on top of blockchain because there are a lot of interactions that are. Social media applications as blockchain is not something which I really endorse.
Really?
Blockchain is something which I see most of it happening with
payment
finance.
Yeah. But then wouldn't you own your photo if an Instagram was on the blockchain?
I wouldn't find it useful.
Fair enough, yeah. But you would have peace of mind that
That's where Lens comes into picture. If you
That's where?
Lens protocol. So Lens is again a social
Lens,
media.
yeah. Right, Lens.
Lens protocol is another social media protocol for blockchain. But again, as I said,
Right. So elaborating, I remember you called your Pineapple Media company silly a while back. We don't encourage that at EDAM. Nothing is silly because you've tried and you're way ahead of those who haven't. So what would you tell to a student who is like trying to try something, not even trying, actually trying to try? What would you tell them? Where to find guidance? Like how should their mind think?
first thing is join communities.
Okay. So
You
networking.
should be joining communities. You should be going to networking. You should bump into people. You should get uncomfortable first of all.
Right.
If they are not into communities like EDAM, they should join communities like EDAM, where they'll be finding support and where they're finding mentors and they're finding people who can guide them. If not, and not just one community, you should be trying and exploring multiple communities. You can be going into GDSC clubs, you can go into Google developers clubs, you can be going into Microsoft communities, you can go into AWS communities, you can go into Adventure Parks communities, you can go into startup communities. There are n number of communities out there. Depending on what your interest is like, you can find a specific community which complements your interest.
Okay.
And you should be going and looking for people who are there to take that way. So most of the times what happens is you need to find that one person who is there to take that risk. And this is what happens when you are going with a lot of people. So there are not a lot of risk takers.
Yeah.
For example, most of the time what happens, people, even if you are on the job, you will be not getting production experience on day one. For 6 months, for 6 to 8 months, you'll be there only recorrecting HTML and CSS designs.
Yeah.
So you should find people in those communities who are ready to take a chance on you, who are ready to give you an opportunity. And they will give you an opportunity if you have some proof of work. If you have something that you made and you are ready to display it. There are a lot of people in Hyderabad who are looking for, especially if you are in since it's a tech community.
Opportunity.
There are a lot of people who are ready to give you opportunities in tech. Just create our portfolio, go create a GitHub account, learn how to code, build some basic project, and bump into people. If there is no one, you can 100% bump into me. I'll find you something somewhere.
I wish I bumped into you.
Sure.
But yeah, you've mentioned working with friends a lot in your journey, talking about your journey till now. What importance, like how important do you think your friends were in your journey? Very?
Friends are really important.
Right. So what kind of people do you want to associate yourself with, and what would you tell like the students and everyone watching to, what would you tell them like who to associate yourself with and who not to associate yourself with?
So we have this
mindset.
We have this thing called as Garib mindset, which
okay.
we have in our workplace. So Garib mindset is something which directly goes with everything. Like every time you talk about a specific thing, you always speak about money. What am I getting in return? What am I going to get? Instant gratification is what we call it.
Right.
So stay away from those people who are looking for
instant gratification.
You should understand what you are into and how long will it take. And short-term things won't land up into long-term careers or long-term impact. So if you are gauging everything with what you are going to get instantly, then stay away from those side of people. And be with people who are aligned with your vision, who are there to make big things, who are there to do stuff which actually matters. And for them, all these materialistic things might not be the very first thing. Yes, of course, money is important. I'm not saying that do everything for free, but don't gauge an opportunity by the paycheck which you are going to receive.
Yeah, you need to look beyond that. What its vision. So
even if it's a placement.
Even if it's a placement, you would say. So
even if it's a placement, you should be seeing. If you are having two companies, one is giving you 24 lakh CTC, one is giving you 12 lakh CTC.
You need to see beyond the money.
But if it's a 12 lakh CTC and you are learning a lot over there, I would definitely go and
you would value it more because in the long run, it gives you more opportunity for growth. So growth, big things, vision beyond instant gratification, big things. Speaking of big things, have you had big goals in your first year, second sem like that? Did you talk to anyone about them?
I did.
Or did you keep them to yourself?
In fact, out of my, I don't know what went through. I in fact posted a blog on top of Medium which I archived recently, where I said that this is what I'll become in 2025. I was like, I'll make this much money, I'll do this, I'll want this, I'll do that. And that was all based into marketing domain, which I couldn't see coming through. So vision is something that you see and it changes according to the path which you travel. So my vision in 2020 is very different. My vision right now is very different. My vision 2 years down the line will be very different.
So are you telling us that we should have a long-term vision or have a long-term vision and then change it as you evolve?
You should have a dynamic vision.
Or have a short-term vision? Dynamic vision?
You should have a dynamic vision. It's more like you are here. You can see until that...
too far or too near?
You can see, let's say you are here, you can see until 15 meters. But what if you travel 15 meters? Now you'll see a lot more other things.
Yeah.
That's when you should also see that, okay, if the thing which you are doing still makes sense or not.
Among the many things students are misguided and act lost about, not act, I should say that there's lost about is mindsets, people they associate with networking, lobbying, and what projects they should take on and off. Because like I've said, some people they get projects in first year, but they're like doubtful, sem work and all that, and then associating themselves. I would like to tell this to the students watching. It's good to have goals. Seen Adnan here, he has goals. He's always had goals. That's why he's here like this. If you ever don't have goals, that's normal. But sitting and doing nothing about it is not normal. You should go search about what your goals should be. And then once you have those goals, you shall choose to share them with people or you shall not. That is up to you. But then associating yourself with people who make you feel like your goals are insane, something along those lines is very unhealthy. You should associate yourself with people who make you feel like your insane goals are normal. That is what I would call a healthy relationship with your friends. Were your friends like that? You were working in so many companies. I think your friends were like that. They were they were working like
you
a
should
lot.
see the community of Adventure Park and the next team of Adventure Park.
I would love to
These guys are
maybe
awesome.
sometime.
And again, one more thing: if your ideas are not, people are not calling your ideas crazy, then understand that you are not doing something big enough. People should be and
people should be calling your idea crazy. Yeah.
Validation that you are doing the right things.
Well, at EDAM, we won't call your idea crazy to your face. We will try to help you evaluate it. And as I already said, EDAM is it's an entity built by the students. It's also for the students. So if you would say to like individual students watching, just speaking to the student, what would you tell them that the one thing they have to do in their engineering life for their career, obviously not enjoyment and all. Enjoyment is a like separate line of work that we won't mention here. What would you tell that student? One thing get done before, have an experience of, or get done before fourth year in their engineering
Get
life.
uncomfortable.
Get uncomfortable. So
everyone as a student tends to be comfortable. Get out of that comfort zone. Go grab into opportunities. Go and get that courage to listen to us. You will be getting 100 no's, but after that you will be getting one yes, and that yes will take you far.
So you've emphasized a lot on getting uncomfortable because even that helped you. Do you say even if I don't have any knowledge, if I learn to get uncomfortable, I will have a faster learning curve than people who don't learn?
Yes. For example, for me, I was very uncomfortable writing code. What did I do? I did not crave about it. I tried going and getting a program, and then that's when I started to learn how to code.
Right.
So do that things. So define yourself, like what do you want to do, and even if you're not feeling comfortable doing that thing, get uncomfortable. It's okay.
So even if I waste my first and second year, compared to some guy who's constantly on a linear learning curve, even if I start getting uncomfortable in fourth year, after engineering, I will learn and pick up faster than him, you're saying?
Yes. So there's a very simple code for that. What I say is, the best time to get started was yesterday. The next best time is today.
Is today.
You cannot be like, okay, I'm still regretting because I did not do all of that. It's a lost time. So the best time was yesterday. The next best time is today. Get started right away, and you will be landing upon great opportunities.
Right. So we've been through pre-engineering, what you've done before engineering. We've talked about exciting college life. You gave us useful, insightful information, and now we're at the end of engineering right now. Fourth year. You're in fourth year, right?
Yes.
How's that going like currently? Busy?
Pretty well. Time flew is what I would say.
Yeah,
I
but
still think I'm in my first year, and right now I'm done with my college. In fact, in the morning, just before coming to this podcast, one of my cousins was at. I was sharing the same experience. Like, oh, you're in final year.
oh yeah, time flies like that. So for the closing notes, well, let's talk a little about after college. Do you think students should like how seriously should they consider growth opportunities at the companies they get internships or projects at, or should they just look at is the company good? Am I going to learn something?
Before going on to that point, one thing which I would really like to emphasize, especially with the students in these times, is most of them want to go abroad just because they think that the life is better and the opportunities are great in
Yeah.
US and all, which I don't really endorse because if you are not right, recently Satya Nadella said this whole thing. If I was born today in Hyderabad, I would have not left India. And Hyderabad is nice. And trust me, if you are coming out of that cell and if you are going and seeing the whole development that's happening around this whole place,
Yeah.
you will be seeing a lot of great opportunities. But again, now coming up to the next part, internships and work opportunities which you are going to get, always see that what are you exactly going to get out of it? What is the career growth going to look like? And how are you going to plan this whole thing out? And make sure that you are again into challenging times. You cannot be there and after that one time, let's say if you are in a company and after that you get into comfort zone within that company.
Yeah.
Don't get comfortable.
Don't get comfortable. That's what you're saying. Okay.
Make sure that if there's a new project, hop onto this new project.
What happens if I get cozy in a company?
If if you get comfortable, you get complacent. If you get complacent, you are stuck
There's
in
no
your
getting out. Yeah, that's just
Once
like
you get
going
into
to
the
US
dating,
and
you are in that loophole forever.
that's just similar to going to US and then getting stuck there. So the US is a bit of a false narrative laid down by like parents and like a few people, because it's really mentioned to those people who don't have a clarity of what they're asking. You know, they just ask Macha, what should I do? Mama kya karna hai? They don't add anything at the else. What should I do for my career, for my health, for my hobby? No, just what should I do? Go to US.
Go to US and magic happens in US. The great American.
No, that is a bit of a false narrative which we will be addressing in another episode soon, hopefully. But to close this, do you volunteer?
Yes, I do volunteer. I do volunteer at a lot of places. I do a lot of things. In fact, Adventure Park is one of my volunteering work, which I started as volunteering.
You started as a volunteer.
Campus Lead is a volunteer role which we had. In fact, Code for India I started as a volunteer. Most of the things which I am in right now, I started as a volunteer. Later on, I went on to full-time position.
Okay, so do you think if I'm excited to work with companies as a student, as a first year also, do you think I should start applying for internships in LinkedIn, or should I just look for volunteer work also?
Do both of it.
I can look for both.
If you are looking for some companies where you are interested in the vision, go volunteer and see what they're doing.
Well, even if I'm not into their vision, I just need work. I want to learn things. You know, practical at workplace experience is always valuable. So I can do either, right?
Definitely.
Right then. Thank you for coming by, Adnan. This is Srikanth, guys, your host, Adnan Ali Khan, and this is Spotlight by EDAM, venue partner Kokadma. Thank you.